In the ancient Greek village of Thalassos, nestled on a fertile island surrounded by the Aegean Sea, life was rich, not in material wealth but in the joy of its people. The villagers were bonded by strong ties of community, celebrating their harvest with abundant food and wine, and cherishing the connection they shared with one another. It was said that the village's prosperity came not from gold, but from the hearts of its people. Among the villagers, two brothers stood out for their strength, Charis and Avarus. Though they were born of the same family and raised with the same love, they could not have been more different in spirit. Charis was beloved by many, his heart filled with gratitude for the life he led. He embraced the simple joys of friendship and family, never seeking more than what he had. He was content, peaceful, and always ready to lend a hand to those around him. People gravitated toward him, sensing his appreciation for life's true riches. Avarus, his younger brother, was respected for his physical strength, but often felt that life had denied him something greater. He longed for more wealth, more status, more recognition. Despite his parents' unconditional love, Avarus believed that he was entitled to more than what fate had provided. His hunger for power and wealth often left him feeling alienated from others. And while the villagers respected him, they did not love him the way they did Charis. One day word reached the village of an ancient treasure hidden at the summit of the island's tallest mountain. The treasure was said to be guarded by a mystical flame that granted unimaginable wealth to anyone brave enough to place their hand in it. But the legend carried a warning: for each gain, one will also suffer a loss. Intrigued, the villagers gathered before their king, who sought someone to bring back the treasure for the benefit of the community. The king looked upon the crowd and asked for volunteers to make the perilous journey. Avarus's hand shot up immediately, his eyes gleaming with the thought of the riches that awaited him. "I'll go, my king," he said boldly. The king, however, turned his gaze to Charis. "Charis, you will go too," the king said. "You have always served the village with loyalty and wisdom. I trust that you will help guide this journey with honor." Charis, though he had no desire for riches, could not refuse the king's request. He nodded, understanding the weight of the task before him. Together, he and Avarus set off to climb the mountain. The journey was grueling. For 3 days, they scaled steep cliffs and braved harsh winds. The path was treacherous, but Charis found peace in the beauty of the island, appreciating every step. Avarus, however, was consumed by thoughts of the treasure, eager to claim what he believed was rightfully his. At last, they reached the summit. There, as the legend had foretold, was the mystical flame burning brightly atop a stone altar. Surrounding it were ancient inscriptions. "Place your hand within the fire and receive the wealth you most desire. But heed this truth, for it is clear, with every gift a loss draws near." Charis read the inscription and stepped back. "I don't need this," he said. "I have everything I want." But Avarus, eyes fixed on the flame, stepped forward without hesitation. "This is my chance," he muttered. He thrust his hand into the flame, wincing as it burned his skin. From beneath the altar, gold coins spilled out, shimmering in the light. Avarus's heart raced with excitement. Charis, sensing the danger, offered to help. "Let me carry some of it, Avarus. It's too dangerous to carry all that gold alone." But Avarus, clutching the gold, shook his head. "I'm as strong as you," he said, his voice edged with suspicion. "I can carry it myself. The king will get what he asked for, and the rest is mine." Together they descended the mountain. Upon their return, Avarus hid some of the gold in his home before presenting a smaller portion to the king. With Charis's help, the king distributed the wealth among the villagers. Though modest, the gold ensured the village thrived, and the people celebrated the brothers for their bravery. But soon after, Avarus learned the terrible cost of his greed. His father had mysteriously passed away while they were on the mountain. Stunned, Avarus stood in silence, recalling the inscription. The truth settled over him. The gods had sacrificed his father in exchange for the gold. Though guilt weighed heavily on him, Avarus could not let go of the wealth. Despite the loss, he quickly spent the gold he had hidden on wine, women, and material goods, hoping to fill the void left by his father's death. But the joy was fleeting, and the emptiness remained. In his despair, Avarus ascended the mountain a second time, knowing full well the price he would pay. He thrust his hand into the flame again, enduring the pain as more gold poured out. But as he descended the mountain, he realized that another loss had come, his mother. The gods had exchanged his mother for the gold. The two people who had loved him unconditionally were now gone. Though the villagers showed empathy for his loss, Avarus believed their pity was a sign of disrespect. Convinced that wealth was the only way to regain their esteem, he decided to climb the mountain one last time. He no longer sought love, only the respect he thought wealth would bring. For the third time, Avarus placed his hand into the flame, but the fire burned so fiercely that his hands were nearly destroyed. Gold spilled out, but his body could no longer bear the weight. As he tried to descend, his scarred hands slipped from the rocks, and the heavy gold pulled him into the abyss below. The gods had taken their final sacrifice, Avarus himself. After his death, the village mourned Avarus's loss. Even though he had never understood it, the people had always cared for him. They knew it was hard to love Avarus, as his life had been consumed by feelings of lack and greed, but the community still held him dear. He could never see the love that surrounded him because he was blinded by his desire for more, always believing he wasn't enough. The story of Charis and Avarus became a lesson passed down through generations. One must be aware of how greed can drive a person toward things not meant for them, leading to the loss of what truly matters. Instead, one should be grateful, like Charis, for what they already have, for that is the true gift offered by the gods. Today, in that ancient village, now changed over thousands of years, a statue still stands in the town square. It depicts Charis and Avarus, a tribute to their bravery and choices. The statue serves as a reminder that the strength within a person can lead either to their downfall or to a life of gratitude.